Welcome to the Artist Impact Podcast, helping you gain confidence, grow your talent, and advance your impact. And now, here are your hosts, Paul Gibbs and Nate Miller.
Welcome, everyone, to another Artist Impact Podcast. Yeah, it's been a while, folks. Nate and I have been doing okay. How about you guys? Everybody doing all right? Yeah, my old friend Pete used to say, everybody all right? Everything all right at your place? Yeah. Anyway, here we are.
Yeah, we are back. We haven't done one of these in a long time. We won't say how long, but you guys, it's on there. There are 27 episodes before this one. This will be episode 28. So if this is the first time you're hearing the Artist Impact Podcast, go back and listen to our entire catalog.
Right.
We're actually re-envisioning, revamping our format here, and we're really excited about this. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics.
Yep.
Before we sort of picked one topic and stuck with that. But we're going to be throwing a lot of new information at you guys. Paul's going to talk a little bit about what each one of these episodes will be like.
Yeah.
What are some of the topics we're going to discuss?
Well, stuff they can use, stuff you can use, people, and maybe some stuff that you have no use for whatsoever, but you'll get a kick out of it. Anyway, for example, what kind of coffee is best before 8 p.m. in the morning? All right. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about...
Chock full of nuts or... Or 8 o'clock coffee.
8 o'clock coffee, yeah. What should you drink after 1 p.m.?
Apparently water. That's all I have.
Yeah, okay. Nate's got water here. I have some coffee.
I've had way too much coffee already today.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah.
I think I have too. Anyway, we're going to talk about that stuff. And we're going to talk about tech topics and tips, like new gear that's coming out, things like that maybe people can, maybe you don't know about, or maybe you want to know more about. We'll be talking about that. What kind of microphone should be used in the studio, things like that. Wireless versus wired microphones. We're going to be talking about that this time, so stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about promoting your music, both online, social media, and what works, what doesn't work. So what are people doing that works? What are some stats on that, things like that. We're going to talk about latest trends in performing. Yeah, because that's changed a lot.
Yeah, we did a lot of stuff during lockdown on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, No Inspired Music TV. And everybody that's in the industry knows that things have changed. Yeah. We've all had to use that buzzword pivot and find new ways of doing things. But even now, after restrictions are lifted, people are still doing things differently.
They are.
So we're going to keep talking about that. Like how have things changed in this, especially in the streaming age, the streaming era,
right,
with Spotify and all the stuff that's going on in the news with them.
Yeah, I think people need to know that. And also getting out there performing live. Are you guys getting out there? Are you performing live? And if so, what does that look like these days?
Right.
And that ties into promotion of your merchandise and your music. We'll talk about that as well. And news items. We've got some news items. We're gonna have a little news segment here during each of our podcasts, just to give you some good information about stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Gonna love it. Gonna love it.
So, what do you want to start with, Paul?
Let's hit the news first.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some here, and this comes to us from. We're gonna give you things from different sources. This comes from the CD Baby website, and just general news. In 2020 was a pretty disastrous year, this says, for physical media sales, with concerts being shut down and things. But so that made physical media, this says physical media is on a roll. Yeah, things are picking back up in 2021, and including vinyl sales. People are getting more into vinyl. And there's a question for you guys. How many of you are getting your music put onto vinyl, and are you finding that is selling at all? We'd love to know about that. In fact, vinyl growth is continuing at double-digit levels, impacted by the same supply chain issues that just about everything else under the sun is. The demand continues to increase, while capacity to manufacture vinyl and everything else is pretty strained. Pretty strained. In fact, some manufacturers are quoting a 12-month turnaround to get your records made. I wonder what that's going to do to vinyl prices. And
I get the nostalgia of vinyl, but it's not very convenient. I mean, you're not going to carry a record player around with you.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, all right, raise your hands. How many of you are going back to CDs or still making CDs? Okay, a few of you. How many of you are going to go back and make cassettes again? Nobody. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. So another story in the news. TikTok. Are any of you guys on that app? I actually don't have it. I know a lot of people who do. But people are taking it seriously as a real music platform. It says 430 songs have surpassed 1 billion views on TikTok in 2021. So, I mean, TikTok, they're very short videos. It's kind of like, Twitter, how you're limited to characters.
Yeah.
You're limited to amount of time. They're just these like quick, it almost reminds me of like the old Vine videos, if you guys remember that, which is no longer around. But a lot of it's people dancing, but people are using this to perform their music. I mean, there are a lot of artists that are using Instagram, but apparently TikTok is a valid platform now. Artists are taking it seriously, and it makes sense. There are so many people using this app that legitimate artists are using it to break through and reach more and more fans. And there's opportunities on there to reach a whole new group of people for your music. So if you haven't explored TikTok yet, or maybe you're using it but not for that application, take a look at how other artists are using it to promote their music and consider that, because a lot of users are on there and people are getting their songs out there and getting heard. So pretty cool. I haven't delved into that yet, but apparently, that's an option for people.
I wonder about the age group, the demographic.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok's usually like.
Would it depend on your genre of music, right? Who's your audience? Would it?
Yeah.
Is TikTok a younger for the younger? I mean, that's the way I think of it.
I think it's like everything else. Like, it starts out that way. I mean, Facebook started out and it was just all teenagers using it.
Yeah.
But then all the adults started getting on. So now, like, most teens aren't on Facebook anymore. They're on Instagram or Snapchat or something else.
Yeah.
So I think these things, they have like a shelf life. Not really a shelf life, but like the demographic changes over time. So like you said, TikTok started out like younger kids, tweens and teens, maybe.
How many grandparents are on there now?
Yeah, I don't think very many.
Maybe not very many.
But as this grows, as more musicians start using it, that demographic is going to change, and the target audience will change.
That's for sure. DistroKid. How many of you use DistroKid?
We know a lot of artists that use them.
Yeah, that is now valued, as of this writing, $1.3 billion. Wow, indie distributor. DistroKid and CD Baby and TuneCore. They are the big three for indie music distributors. Yeah. And, individual indie artists won't probably stand to gain a lot of money. A few investors do stand to see a big payday at some point. People are investing in those. Yeah. Podcasts, are they your competition? How many of you artists are doing podcasts besides Nate and I? I mean, I don't know. Is that for an artist? I don't know. It seems like artists, they spend their time on the music and producing music and getting music out there. I know of a few artists maybe that are doing podcasts, but Spotify, for one, has dumped millions of dollars buying podcasts. Wow, I didn't know that. And they're also buying podcast creation companies. Yeah. And most podcasts at this point don't require any royalties because it's all original stuff. They're not using other people's stuff. But yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. And concerts seem to be, as we said earlier, seem to be making a comeback. Live concerts. I wonder what that's going to look like for this year. Yeah,
I don't know. You were talking earlier before we hit record about house concerts. How many people are doing those?
Yeah.
We'd like to hear from you guys that are listening. Is anybody still doing house concerts? Have you started that after lockdown restrictions were, relaxed a little bit? I'm really curious about that. Yeah,
I would like to know some stats. Compared to a year ago, how many artists were, if you couldn't be out there doing live concerts, were you doing them from home or from wherever? Doing them online, and if now that things are opening up a little bit, I wonder how many of you out there are still maintaining an online presence. Yeah.
And then finally, this comes from Mark Mulligan of the Music Industry Blog, and he says that the indie market share is at 43%, the highest it's ever been. In other words, independent artists make up 43% of music industry revenues as of 2021. That it's surprising, yet not surprising. With the advent of technology, whether it's YouTube or artists being able to, independent artists being able to get their music on Spotify and these streaming platforms that originally, were kind of held specifically for people on major labels. Pretty much anybody now has the chance to get their music out there, and so the market share, 43%. It's not quite half, but it's continuing to grow at a faster rate than the majors, than the people who are signed by these major labels. So that's pretty exciting for independent artists. There's so many ways to share your music now, and you can finally have a piece of the market and a chance to actually compete. You still have to do a lot of work, a lot of elbow grease, and
Yes.
it takes a lot of time, effort, energy. You got to be doing the hustle. I guess that's what I
You got to
should
do the
say.
hustle. Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that the playing field has kind of been leveled, and I think we all sort of knew that. But that's interesting that he found that stat, 43% market industry share in 2021. That's awesome.
And the indie segment is growing faster than the majors, you said. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it. That is interesting. Yeah. I think that's kind of encouraging news for those of us for the independent artist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of, it makes me think that the labels are probably looking for ways to put a stop to that, because they realize that they no longer have the juggernaut or the hold on the industry. So they're probably reeling and trying to find ways to stop that from happening. But hopefully they won't be able to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think, and this was from Tony Van, what's his name at Disc Makers.
Oh yeah.
Forgive me, Tony, for not getting your last name right. But he predicts that 2022 will be the start of a real recovery for the concert industry, and I think that goes for the majors as well as for the indie artist. And so 2022 puts us into year 3 of the pandemic. And he's thinking, and I'm thinking too, that the concert industry, big and small, is going to make a comeback. And I think that's encouraging news for the indie artists because of all this confusion, all this other stuff about all the online stuff. The indie artist is still going to need to get out there and especially the Christian artists, get out there, go sing for those churches that have 10, 15, 20 people. They want you to come and sing. Yes, because they need you. All right. All right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Why do you've got an article there, and I think this has been talked about before.
Right.
That should I have? I'm just starting out as an artist. I've got some stuff online, and my recordings sound pretty good. So, do I need a website?
Yeah, we've dealt with this a couple times in podcasts, probably on videos as well. And, initially our advice to new artists was, if you don't have a website, that's okay. You don't have to spend the money, as a brand new artist, like your first, whether you have a full album or you just put out a single, you don't necessarily have to invest the money to create an entire website yet. We've said that because of exactly what we were just talking about, all of the social media platforms and the online resources that exist. You can have a presence on Facebook, on YouTube, Bandcamp, all these places for free. And that's great. But, I have 2 articles here that are sort of related from industry experts talking about the fact that as an artist, you definitely need to have a musician artist website. And I think that's the logical outgrowth of what we were talking about before. If you're just starting out, you don't necessarily have to have one because there's ways to get your music out. But there is something about having your own personalized website that legitimizes you as an artist. And so we're going to go over a couple of these points. This first article is by Bobby Borg, and this comes through the Disc Makers website. I'm on a mailing list for that. And he says there's 5 reasons you need a musician or a music artist website. And, you know, he's talking about it's 2022. There's streaming sites and aggregator sites and social media. You might be thinking a website's not necessary. And then he says, here's 5 reasons to rethink that strategy. So he mentions the different web or the different platforms that are out there already. Spotify, Bandcamp, Facebook, Instagram. You know, there's all these places to get yourself out there on social media for free. So why, and YouTube, why would you need a website? His first reason is for income, making more money. One of the things you'll find with having your own website is it gives you a place to have a direct to fan distribution channel where you can sell your music, your merch, and it cuts out the middleman. So you might be able to have like, you know, something on like Facebook Marketplace or other sites, social media platforms, but they have ways of like taking a cut in order for you to sell your things. So he's saying that if you have your own website, your fans can buy directly from you and cut out the middleman.
Right.
The only affidavit I would say on that would be, though, the fact that you have to pay for the website. So you have a little bit of a cost. So depending on who you host your website through,
right,
you might have a recurring cost to keep that up. So you do pay for that, but I think that's probably less than what you would have to do to set up a marketplace on social media.
And I would think that if you've got music to sell, I would think that as a consumer, though, your fans would probably just as soon buy it at your website than they would at some other site.
Yeah,
I would think so.
You would think, because they would want to support you directly.
Yeah.
The second thing he says is you can take control of your branding. And so if you create your own website, you have complete control over what your look looks like. So everything from the colors that you use, the fonts, the layout, social media, obviously they have like templates, and so do some of these website creator sites. You know, that you're kind of limited unless you're making it all from scratch, but you have a little bit more control there, whereas like, you know, social media is sort of like a one-size-fits-all sort of things, and they often have ads and distractive elements that are vying for, you know, your fans' attentions when you get on there. Depending on what website platform you use, they may also have web banners on it.
Right.
But you have a little bit more control depending on the type of site that you use, the platform that you use to create your website. But you have, I would think you would have a little more detailed control over what it's going to look like. And I think I had a list here, if I can find it, of potential website platforms that you can use. I know like Wix is one, Squarespace, Bandzoogle, WordPress, and there are several other ones that you might be able to use. And again, you're going to have much more detailed control, and you'll be able to put much more information on there. And that's his next point. Point number 3, it's your information hub. So all of your marketing communication is in one place.
Yes.
So you could put an EPK, your electronic press kit, which journalists would look for. You can have your tour dates on there. You can have music videos, pictures, bios. Everything is in one place, and you have complete control to update everything as much as necessary so that your fans can come and get the latest updated information. And the cool thing is, you know, you're going to put all of your social media links on there anyway. So if people are looking for your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, your YouTube, all that's going to be on your website. But like this is like a centralized hub. So you only have to update your stuff once. You know, people can come there to find the latest information. And then if they want to venture out to your social media accounts to find out like what you ate for lunch today or whatever you're posting on Instagram, that's fine. TikTok, yeah. But this is a great way to just keep your latest and greatest updated information and all of it in one place. And you have all that control to do all those different types of information that your fans are going to be looking for. And this fourth thing, and I think this is what I kind of mentioned at the top of this, it legitimizes yourself. So imagine a promoter coming to you and you know they're interested in you for whatever to play at their venue or a festival or whatever it is, and they ask you, you know, what's your website? You know, they ask for your URL, and what do you say? I don't have one, or you can find me on Facebook. That's okay, but
Right.
This just takes you to the next level. It seems a little more professional that you have your own website. It's like walking up to someone and handing them a business card. You could just scratch down your name and your phone number on a piece of paper and hand it to somebody and give them the same information. But if you have a professionally made business card, with your logo on it or your picture,
Right.
and you invested money in that, it just that takes you up a notch, takes you up to the next level. It definitely makes you look a little more professional and respectable, and makes you be taken a little more seriously than if you're just like, oh, well, I'm on all the social media sites.
Right.
And this final number 5 out of the 5 reasons why you should have a music artist website, Bobby Borg says, you own it. You literally essentially own a piece of real estate on the web, and your fans always know where to go to find you. And he brings up an interesting point here. He, a little bit of a throwback. He says, remember MySpace or Vine? I mentioned Vine videos earlier. Like Vines, that doesn't exist anymore. And MySpace tried to make a comeback, but think about all those artists that had all their fans on there, and then MySpace goes down. Like, all that information was lost. MySpace didn't have to go to all the people who had accounts and tell them, hey, we're going to go under, and, you need to get all your information from your fans before that happens. Like, that stuff was just gone the next day.
Yeah.
So if you have your own website, you can collect emails from your fans, and you own all that contact information. You establish that relationship, and you control whether your website is there or not, because you purchase it, you pay for its upkeep. So that's another thing to think about. Fans can always find you. You always know that you have control and that it's there. So again, his 5 reasons: more money, more income, because you control it. You can take control of your branding online. It becomes your information hub rather than all your different social media outlets. You legitimize yourself, and finally, you own it. I mean, that kind of like summarizes all of that together.
Right.
But those are his 5 reasons for why you need a music artist website, even in this day of social media and streaming sites and aggregator sites and all that stuff. So I don't know. What do you guys think? If you don't have your own artist website out there, give us your reasons why.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Or why you think you should.
Other reasons that maybe
Yeah.
you think you should. My thought was, and I want to just add my 2 cents here, which is probably, it might be worth $0.015 after tax, but is start out, if you need to start out without one, your own website, do it.
Yeah.
Start somewhere, okay? If you're not able to afford a website right now, they're not all that expensive, but if you're not able to afford it, that's fine. Save up some money until you can, but start with one of the other ones that are free. Get yourself started, but don't stay there. As soon as you can have your own website, please do it. And then I know Nate's going to nod his head on this one. Keep it updated.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it updated.
We might talk about that a little bit later.
We might talk about that. Yeah, we will talk about that at another podcast. But that's, so I think it's great when someone's, like for me, for example, I'm just throwing this out there, when I do interviews with, for Notespire Music, I do interviews with a lot of different artists. It's another podcast that we do called The Artist Insight. And I can't tell you how many artists, most of them that I interview have their own website. And if they don't, honestly, I'm wondering why not? Reverb Nation is a great music site. You should be on there. But I don't think that, in my opinion, in our opinion, it's not the only place you should have your music.
Yeah.
That Reverb Nation should be pointing people to your website. But a lot of artists, or several artists I've interviewed lately, only have a Facebook presence or
Reverb Nation.
Reverb Nation.
Yeah, Reverb Nation reminds me sort of a newer version of MySpace.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But it's still around.
It's still around. It's still good. It's still good. But one artist that I won't say her name right now, but she'll be on our Artist Insight podcast very soon, and she has a beautiful website, and it takes you wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
As far as social media. All right, moving right along. Yeah, let's talk about some tech. I came across, and we're going to talk about this next time. we're going to give you some teasers this time. And I think I mentioned it earlier, a whole new technology of headphones that we're going to talk about next time. But so come back for that for our next podcast. But now let's talk about microphones a little bit. And some of you guys some of you guys out there, you're using wireless mics when you are performing. And I want to see some hands. How many are using a wireless microphone, or you're using wireless guitar transmitter? I know you do.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, Nate's got his hand up on that. So in wireless microphones and stuff, whether it's in a worship band setting, praise team, or maybe you're out there you're out there in churches or wherever you are in venues, and you're doing tracks or whatever. Whatever you're doing, you're all going wireless. But and some of you are using the corded mics and gear. So what's good about one or the other? Well, I'm going to start with corded mics, and this goes for other gear as well. But we're going to talk about microphones, and so the reasons to stick with a cord. Well, you might think, well, why should I do that? As soon as I can afford it or whatever, I'm going to go wireless. Well, maybe not. Okay, here's some advantages. The signal reliability in general, and of course, cord wireless are getting better, but the signal reliability overall is better than a wireless situation. All right, you don't have to worry about interference and things like that. It's easier to set up. Just plug a cord in. All right. In general, it's easier as far as the tech goes. Price range. Yeah, you can get a real good quality corded mic for a lot less than the same quality wireless mic. And in general, and Nate, you might think of there's less tech issues.
Oh, yeah.
With a corded mic, you just basically, and it goes on with the easier setup.
Analog versus digital, right?
Yeah, yes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So corded mics, they definitely have their advantage, and they are still around, and I think they're going to be for a long time. So why should we use wireless mics? Well, easier. No tripping over
no
wires.
strings attached.
No
Yeah,
strings attached.
I do appreciate not having my guitar plugged in. Although now I'm using in-ears, and I'm still tethered to the microphone stand.
Yeah.
I do have a wireless battery pack for my in-ears, but like you said, the technology's just not quite there yet.
Yeah.
And the signal will drop out every few seconds, and if you're trying to hit a note and all of a sudden your voice cuts out, it can be a little distracting.
Oh, that would.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm still all wires. By the way,
yeah.
When I'm out there. Okay.
Another reason to use a wireless mic or wireless technology is, like you said, less stage clutter.
Yeah.
There's fewer things to trip over. Mm-hmm. It's just a cleaner look. No shock risk.
Yep.
I got shocked by an old Ampeg bass amp one time.
Did you?
And it didn't matter. I don't know what was wrong with that thing. If it was grounded, it didn't matter if you had the thing grounded or not. When you tried to turn that thing on, you were getting zapped.
Yep.
I don't know why that thing was like that. But
how many of you guys remember when all the amps had 2-prong plugs? I can remember. I think I was in maybe 7th or 8th grade. I had my electric guitar on, plugged into the amp. And I had this little tiny, I think it was a Montgomery Ward's microphone. We're talking just
Montgomery Ward.
Yeah, we're talking just cheap stuff here when I was first starting out. And man, I got up to that microphone and I thought it burned my lip off. It was terrible. And my buddies said they could actually see the spark. It was,
wow.
It was that bad. So, anyway, it does happen. Yeah.
And then finally, like we said, less stage clutter, reduced or no shock risk, and then moving without restriction.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you don't move very much when you play or you perform, but I kind of like not having the wires for some of the stuff we had to do when we were restricted to doing stuff on video, like whether it was like on YouTube or whatever during lockdown.
Right.
Sometimes we were setting up cameras in like constricted spaces, and like our setups were just so crazy that like having to throw in all those cables and stuff in such a small, tiny space was a lot more difficult. So I can see how that that would be much more beneficial to be able to move without all the restrictions of cables and everything like that, especially for video production.
Yeah.
It just gives it a cleaner look, and you don't have to worry about, camera angles and, is this camera going to pick up this, and does it look junky? Yeah. So there's pros and cons to all these things.
It sure is. Sure is.
And
my advice for people that want to go wireless, friends, if you want to go wireless, please don't go cheap, because you will be so sorry.
You will be disappointed.
You could spend $200. I'm going to throw a figure out there. You can spend, I don't know, take a Shure SM58 or a Sennheiser 835. You're going to pay $100, $125 tops for that. That's a darn good microphone for performing or e-recording or whatever.
Standards, yeah.
You are not going to buy a wireless mic, a good one, for that price. An SM58 wireless, I forget what the.
I don't even know how much they would cost.
You're going to pay at least double that. Least double that. And if you guys want some information more about that, Shure, Audio-Technica, and Sennheiser make really good wired and wireless mics. But I'm guessing $400 and up for a decent wireless, probably. I haven't really looked into them.
And then I wonder too, like, you buy the wireless mic, but does that come with the receiver?
Yes, right.
Then you got to buy the receiver and all the additional stuff. So, there's definitely an initial cost hit there.
Yeah, go for quality. If there's a wire attached, go for the quality. All right.
All right, what do you want to move on to next?
Oh my goodness! Well, something I think we got time for one more topic. Let's talk about success.
Okay.
Let's talk
That's
about
always
success.
a good thing, right?
Yeah. So, friends, would you say that in the last couple of years you have been successful with this whole pandemic thing? How has that changed your definition of success? If it has changed it. Interesting. So how do you define it? I think we so often we're looking at success as how much money we've made, how big the audience has been, how many streams we've had on Spotify and online, how many downloads of our music, things like that. I've seen people on Facebook post, and God bless them, they're posting how many streams that they've had in the last whatever, and that's good.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, friends, when you do that, it's just my 2 cents. When you do that, there's somebody else out there that's saying, "Oh, wish I had that many," or there might be somebody else that's saying, "That's all." So I don't think that success necessarily should be measured in numbers. We're constantly comparing ourselves. This is the danger, I should say. We're constantly in danger of comparing ourselves with other artists, or especially maybe the ones on major labels, because they've got millions of dollars behind them. They've got professional studios they're recording in. They've got marketing budgets in out the gazoo, radio placement, promotion on Spotify, playlists, and all these other.
That's the thing that the labels still have is their distribution channels.
Yeah.
The independent artist has a lot of resources at their disposal, but that's one place where the labels still have a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of an edge. Yep. Yeah.
But you got to, if you can get there.
Yeah. If you can.
Right. But here's the thing I want. We want you to remember: you're not in competition with anyone else. Okay. It's not about competition, and if you are in competition with anyone, it's yourself. And what you are capable of achieving. So I guess that says don't stay where you are. We can always do better and do more. But when you're comparing yourself with other people and what they've done, you're probably going to lose every time and come up short. So there's very, very many versions, I should say, of success, especially in the music business, where it's all about independent artists, and we're all going the do-it-yourself route. We're distributing our music, and we're trying to build a fan base and support our dreams and things like that. But, believe it or not, and maybe you fall into this category, but not everybody is setting out to achieve the same goals or the lifestyles as all those artists you see popping up on the mainstream. on videos, or mainstream media, I should say. Some artists just want to, somebody, not everybody wants to be on radio and TV all day. Not everybody wants to win a Grammy, believe it or not. Not everybody wants to, drive a Porsche or a Bentley or, Rolls Royce, whatever. Some people, and we have met people like this. Like we know an artist who and it's a female artist. She just wants to work her day job because that's what she does, and do her music on the side. And that's
and she's perfectly happy with that. Yeah,
just doing that. So, and not so. Some artists just want to tour, but they only want to tour in their local area because of maybe family connections or kids or whatever, and not want to. And some artists want to just make a small living from their music, or a partial living from their music. So some artists want to put their kids through school with their craft. Well, great, okay. Hopefully, then the kids will. All right, we won't go there. But anyway, what's your thoughts, Nate, on success?
Well, it's interesting. I have this related article. It talks exactly about this. This is from the music industry blog by Mark Mulligan. And they spent the last 12 months speaking to artists, songwriters, producers, and managers about their priorities and concerns and challenges about making music, growing their audiences, and their earnings in their career. And they found some interesting trends, like I said, over the past 12 months. And they said most up-and-coming artists, especially the independent artists, see themselves as small businesses, or that's how they view themselves and kind of like market themselves as a startup or as a small business. And it's more about using your existing resources rather than borrowing money to try to get like a huge record deal. They're just using what's at their disposal right now, like free social media platforms and things. And they're more concerned about making a sustainable living from their music than about becoming famous and rich, like you just talked about. That is the industry trend right now. Another thing that they found was that the most up-and-coming or independent artists are focused more on a core, loyal group of fans rather than large audiences. Whereas before, it was about playing sold-out arenas and stadiums and everything. Now artists are focusing on building a small group of core, loyal fans of like 100 to 1,000 people. And they look to use tools that will help them to directly reach that group of people to collect their data so they can create actions off of that. So that might be a mailing list on your website, or just direct marketing thing through whatever platforms that you have online. And it's more about creating a relationship with those fans and giving them something, whether it could be a Patreon account where somebody signs on and they're supporting what you do, and then they get something in return that only they can get as one of your loyal fans. So it's more about this like small, loyal group of fans that you have a direct relationship than it is about becoming rich and famous with these big groups of people that you don't even know. You have no relationship with them. Yeah. And then the other trend that they found over the past 12 months is we all kind of know that streaming doesn't pay. You get very little.
Oh man,
you get very little income on their streams. And artists realize that it's all about passive listening. Your song may or may not get streamed unless someone's directly looking for it. And so they're starting to realize, or not, I shouldn't say starting. They're realizing that most artists need to focus on other revenue streams than just their music. So that could be live touring, live streaming sessions that you control, selling your merch, or even teaching and doing session work for other artists. So collaborating with other artists. And technology is also changing. So we'll talk about this in maybe an upcoming podcast. Mm-hmm. But NFTs, what are they about? So that is a buzzword we're seeing all over the internet. So those are other things that people are getting into.
Right.
So it's just interesting how the whole landscape has changed. Some of it due to COVID and, the lockdown restrictions, but
keep going.
But most of it is just the reality of our technology and the streaming era that we're in.
Right.
Yeah. So the landscape has changed.
Yes, it has. Yeah. And like I said, some of it because of COVID. Some of those changes would have happened anyway, but others have been directly. And some of those changes that COVID has caused are probably going to maybe stay changed. But we'll just have to see about that. So, friends, we want to know what you want to know about.
Yeah.
So we want to hear from you. Our email is info@notespiremusic.com. Mm-hmm. You can get a hold of us there. You can find us on Facebook. What are we going to talk about next time? I was going to tell them about this. We're going to talk about radio. That's something that Nate and I know a lot about, well, at least internet radio. We know a lot about that.
Why do we know about that?
We don't, because we have a radio station called Notespire Radio, WNSM-DB, the greatest music in all creation. You can find that on our website at notespiremusic.com, or you can also go to notespireradio.com. We're going to talk about that and also commercial radio and college radio and why you should or should not be pursuing those for as a part of what you're doing with your music. As Nate said, we're going to talk about, what was that?
NFTs.
NFT. Oh, it means fine tobacco. No, I'm aging myself there.
Yeah.
LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine. All right, that's getting into we don't do cigarette commercials anymore.
No.
All right, we never did. And we're also going to talk about an MVP. What's an MVP? Most valuable player? No. Major vacation plan? No. We're going to talk about that. What is an MVP and why should you care about that? Yeah.
That's great stuff.
And what else? Whatever else that you guys. So let us know what you want to, what you'd like to know about. What can we talk about that's going to help you, or at least be somewhat interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be sure to look for us online. Like Paul said, notespiremusic.com. We have our own website. You also find us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram. We are not on Twitter.
We are not on Twitter.
We're on YouTube at Notespire Music TV. Mm-hmm. And so find us on the web if you haven't already. And you probably are listening to this podcast on Spreaker, but they distribute to all the major pod streaming sites and platforms. So you could be on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, ton of other ones.
Spotify, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, everywhere good podcasts and some that aren't so good are streamed and downloaded. Just search for the Notespire Music Artist Impact. Until we meet again, friends, please take care of yourselves.
And take care of each other.
God bless you. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
The Artist Impact Podcast is a production of Notespire Music, LLC. At Notespire Music, we empower independent Christian musicians to grow their God-given music potential by refining their craft and extending their music ministry reach through mentorship, training, trusted resources, music production, and artist promotion. Notespire Music, helping you gain confidence, grow your talent, and advance your impact. For more information, visit notespiremusic.com. That's NOTESPIREMUSIC.com.